In this tutorial, we're talking about how to get data from your Vernier LabQuest system into Excel, and then how to turn that Excel chart or that data into a graph. First things first is we've already talked about how to set this up, and you'll notice we've captured data. And now how do we get this data out? The key is we're going to have a USB drive, which you see flashing right there. We're going to go to File and then hit Export. Save is not going to give you the same results as Export, so make sure you hit Export. One of the key things you want to make sure you see is this USB icon. Sometimes it does not come up, especially if you've just plugged the USB in, in which case you need to hit Cancel and then go back to File, Export again. But make sure you have this USB icon. Give it a name that makes sense. This one is actually the ambient, which just means like the room temperature. It's the ambient heat nugget test, which makes sense if you know what we're talking about. But we put an object that was hot in the ambient room temperature and then monitored its cooling. So we'll hit Done, and then we're going to hit the USB and then hit OK. At which point the USB, oh, we've already saved something like this. We'll overwrite it just for the experience. There it goes, and it saves it. Notice the USB is blinking. When it goes back to the breathing light, which is not the blinking, you'll know that it is done and complete. And there it goes. It's just uploaded it to the USB. At which point you can unplug this and plug it into your computer, and you'll be able to find the file that we just created. So I am going to go ahead and move that over, and now we're in an Excel. This is a brand new document. First thing we want to do is go to Data. I'm going to hit Data, and there we go. And it has all this ribbon full of stuff we can do with our data, and what we're going to do is we're going to import our data. So Get External Data is this miniature area here. There's a couple ways we can do it. I'm going to show you the From text. When we export it from the Vernier system, it creates a text file. I've gone ahead and if I plug in my USB, I can find this file, but I've gone ahead already and copied them to the shared student folders. So you go to the shared drive, go to this, you'll see engineering down here, and then you're going to see the thermodynamic data to analyze. This is where you're heading. And you're going to see the 6 pieces of data that we talked about. We just did the ambient heat nugget, so I'll hit OK there, and I'll hit Import. So what happens when we save a file as a text file is it just shows up as a regular document. In fact, I kind of want to open this up and show you what it looks like. Shared student, P drive, bam, engineering. If I just open one of these files, it's going to open it up in a heat document, or excuse me, a text document, which is just all of this stuff is just kind of captured in a text file, and you notice that there's spaces between each of the data entries. So that helps to explain what's going on in this file right here. It's saying how does the text want to be delimited or broken or separated into columns. The default settings work, so we go here and it's saying, all right, so how do you want us to separate and show our data? And normally it's a tab, and all those spaces between the data and the text file are tabs, and so every time it sees a tab it knows to skip a line. And as you look at the preview, the data is looks pretty good. This is what we're looking for. So as soon as I hit Next and then Finish, it will dump this data into the spreadsheet. It says where do I want to dump it. I can either start it here or I can do a new worksheet. I go ahead and do a new one. And sure enough, here is our data information. At this point, we might as well go ahead and get rid of all of the topics that we don't need, and we can make our own. This one is time and seconds, and this one is the ambient heat nugget. So this is the one where we had it in there. So basic formatting and get things aligned. We can make this look pretty nice, but it's not the biggest deal here. So, and this is in degrees Celsius. Okay, so we've done our first one. The next one we want to do is going to be slightly different, so I'll show you 2, and then I'll show you the end result, and we'll get out of here. So home, oh, I need to go to a new sheet. You notice that, oh, there we go. From text. Let's do the heat nugget in the cooler. We'll import that, go through the same process. Next, Finish, and why don't we go ahead and let's do it in a new worksheet. I don't want to clutter this one up. So when I hit a new worksheet, you'll notice that one is created here. And there we are. So at this point, we're going to highlight all of these things. If I do Shift and go down, it highlights. If I do Shift Control, it'll go down to the very bottom of the column. So that's a shortcut that's helpful. I'm going to do a Control C to copy, jump back to my main sheet, Control V to paste, and I've dropped this one in. And this was the heat nugget in a cooler. Okay, that's in degrees Celsius, which I need to add. So home, we'll wrap the text. Let's center it and make it look nice. And at this point, I've got 3 items of data. You will need to be doing all 6 of them, but I do want to show you how to go about doing the graph. So I'm going to highlight this cell. I'm going to do Shift Control to an arrow to the right. It's going to highlight, go all the way to the right, and then I'll go down and it'll highlight all the way to the bottom. So in those 3 keystrokes, I've highlighted all of my current data. Scroll back up and we're going to go to the Insert. There's all different types of plots. I like the scatter because the scatter plot will use your first column as your x coordinates, which is what we want. Our time's going to be on our x. If I do scatter, I like this one. It adds a line to it. And you'll see that it automatically does that. It puts the time on the bottom axis. It goes up to 1800, and that's what it's showing. And then it shows our different values. So a couple things to look at. The ambient heat, that's the heat nugget in just the air. It looks like it's cooling more quickly than the heat nugget in the cooler, which makes sense. So now we have our chart. What I want to do here is right-click and say Move Chart to a new sheet. This is going to make it big. And then I'm going to go through my chart tools. You'll see in the ribbons it highlights the 3 things that we need. And we need to add our main things, which are our chart title. We can go centered over the title. This is where you're going to enter in your information, your name, and then a description of what this is. Heat nuggets in various situations. And then we should always do temp versus time to tell what our degrees are. Put something on there. Feel free to make it more elaborate if you choose. Then we need to label our axes, primary, horizontal, and vertical here. I'll let you figure those out, time in degrees Celsius and temperature. Go ahead and do that. Make sure you've got all 6, and you should have a nice looking graph. A preview of what you're looking for is something like this. Here I've gone ahead and entered in all these things. I've done some basic formatting with colors and borders, and then I've also got my chart, which should look something like that. Okay, that is your topics and your needs. If you need something, email me at bvarville@tamdistrict.org. Otherwise, good luck. Happy graphing.